Alrighty. On the first one, number 1, is that an expression or is that an equation?
Expression.
How do we know by looking at it which it is? Yeah, we don't have an equal sign there. So it's just an expression. I'm going to write that a little clearer. And then I want to know what that expression means in context, which I wanted to make sure to clarify. When I say that, I don't want you to just tell me what all the pieces mean. What would we find out that would be new information by actually doing those calculations? What does the N mean in this expression? Number of gallons of gas. What does the 3.25 mean? That's how much gas costs per gallon. So if I had a number that I substituted in for X, and I could actually multiply these together, what would I find by doing that?
Number 2.
I'm still on number 1.
You would find the cost of gas depending on the number of gallons you want.
Yes, we're going to find the cost for buying N number of gallons. I don't know how much N is, but if I knew how much N was, what I could find by multiplying those is the total cost for N gallons of gas. You guys okay with that? Does that make sense? One of the things that you could do if you're not quite sure what you would find is start substituting some numbers in. See what you get back and then ask yourself, what does that mean? So if I put a 5 in there, I would end up with 16.25. What does that mean? What did I just find? What does that output tell me? Number 2, is that an expression or an equation? That is an equation. And we know that because equal sign. What can we do with equations that we can't do with expressions? We can solve them. If I solved this equation and I got an answer for N, what would it tell me? The specific number of gallons that we bought. Why is it equal to 26?
That's how much it costs.
That's how much it costs. So if I were to solve this, it would tell me how many gallons were purchased if $26 was the total cost. So the number of gallons purchased for $26. Is number 3 an expression or an equation? That one is also an expression. And we know that again because no equal sign. I'm going to keep asking that question just because I want to make sure that each time we know, because there ends up being a lot of confusion when we get into different types of equations with like, what can I do with this thing? And I'm always going to stop and say, okay, is it an expression or is it an equation? Because what I can do with it and what it tells me is different based on what I'm looking at. This expression could give me some new information about the problem, right? We already know what part of it means. This part right here, the 3.25N, that's exactly the same as this, right? What did we say that part of it meant? What did we write up there? That's the total cost to us to buy N gallons of gas at this gas station. Why would you take 40 minus the cost?
Because 40 is your starting amount.
40 could be the starting amount, so why would you minus the cost? What would it tell you?
To figure out how much you'll have left after buying gas.
Yes.
40 would be the total amount, right?
40 would be the total amount that you have, not the total amount that you spent necessarily. So this would be how much you have left if you buy N gallons and started with $40. By the way, I'm super impressed right now. You guys are doing better than any of the other groups I have ever had in Prime on this right here. Not even kidding. Super impressed. Number 4. Is that one an expression or an equation? That's an equation. And we know that because
Equal sign.
there's an equal sign. Notice that everything over here on the left is exactly the same as this expression right here. We said that that expression tells us how much we have left, right? This has an equal sign. It's equal to what? So that means what? You have $1 left. What would we find by solving that? How many gallons it took to get to $1 spent? $1 left. How many gallons were purchased if we started with $40 and we had $1 left over after we paid for it? That's what we would find by solving this. So this is the number of gallons purchased if you started with $40 and have $1 left over. Nice work. Very, very nice work. Thank you, ma'am. Okay. I want you guys to turn over to page 105. We are going to determine whether or not the value they gave us is a solution. How would I determine if x equals 2 is a solution on number 1? We can substitute. If I substitute 2 in the place of x, what is 2 plus 2? 4. So over on the left, I would get a 4. Over on the right, I would have 2 squared. What's 2 squared? 4. So I'd have 4 plus 4, which is 8. Are my two sides actually equal? So is that a solution? No, not a solution. I want you guys to do that for 2, 3, 4, and 5. Do the exact same thing for 2, 3, 4, and 5, and we're going to go over those in about 5 minutes. All right, on number 2, is this a solution? Yes. If we take -2, we put it in the place of p. -2 plus 2 would simplify to be what? 0. Over here, if I take -2 and I put it in the place of p, what happens when we square something that's negative?
It crosses out, or the negative sign crosses
If the
out.
power is negative, then it's negative, but if the power is positive, then it's positive.
Yes. If the power is odd, then it's going to be negative. If the power is even, then it's going to be positive. Do we have an even power or an odd power? What is our exponent?
Even.
Yep, our exponent is 2, so that's an even number. We would take something and multiply it by itself. -2 times another -2 would give me what?
0.
-4.
It's going to be a positive 4 because negative times negative gives me that positive. -2 times -2 gives me positive 4. And then we do 4 minus 4, which would be 0 here. Did we get the same thing on both the left side and the right side? Yes. So then these two really are equal. So we would say this is a solution. What about on number 3? Not a solution. What happens when we put 0 in the place of A? Yes, we get -5 over 5, which comes out to be -1. But what was there after the equal sign? A positive 1. So not a solution. I want to make sure that our language on this is really clear, just because one of the misconceptions that I've seen come up year after year, this is my 5th year teaching this class, so I've been doing it for a little while. You don't want to say no solution, because what we did was not solve to find A and come up with nothing. We tried one value, and that one value didn't work. So that one value is not a solution, but that doesn't mean that no solutions exist. Yes, sir?
We do like true or not true. Can you do that or no?
I got to think about that for a minute.
Oh, okay.
I understand what you're saying. I just got to think about, like, if you were to go into a college setting, because this course is meant to prepare you for, like, a credit-bearing course in college, if you decide to go to college, and then whether or not they would understand what you meant by that. Because I don't want to practice something in here that's not going to serve you well outside of here, whether that is in a real-world setting or in a college classroom setting. I don't want to practice something and get really good at it just to get somewhere else and not have it work there. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So let me think about that, and I'll run it past our higher ed partners and just kind of see what their feel on that is.
Okay.
What about number 4? Is 0 a solution there? What do I get if I put 0 in?
No, you get positive 5.
Ooh, Jose disagrees with you.
Thank you.
So if I put 0 in here, what's 5 minus nothing? 5. What's 5 plus nothing? 5. So I end up with 5 over 5, which is 1. What do they have after the equal sign? -1. So is this a solution? No. They got tricky with this. If it had been exactly the same as the one above, where it was a positive 1 and a positive 1, we would have been good. But it wasn't. So not a solution. What about number 5? Does 0 work here? What do we have if we put a 0 in the place of x on the left?
You get 0 minus 24.
You could do 0 minus 24, or we can do our parentheses first because we actually can combine our like terms there. It evaluates the exact same. 0 minus 24 still would give us negative 24. Oh, that was really messy. There we go. Negative 24 over here. On the other side, if I put 0 in the place of x, what do I get? I just have negative 8. 0 minus 8 would give me negative 8. And those are not the same. So once again, we're left with not a solution. On number 6, how many different things do we want to try there? How many numbers have I given us to try? 5 different numbers. I want you guys to tell me which of those are solutions. It might be 1. It might be more than 1. It might be all of them. It might be none of them. I want you guys to test each one of those values. Since there's 5 to do, I'm going to give us about 5 minutes to do that. Okay? Figure out which of those are solutions. If we replace all the x's with zeros, what would I get on the left-hand side if I replace all those x's with zeros? I get negative 5 when it's simplified, right? What about on the right-hand side if I replace all those x's with zeros? What do we get? So I have 2 times 0, which is what?
Oh, wait. It's just negative.
Yes. Because I'm going to have 0 times 3, right?
You negative 1.
Minus 1. I'll be honest, I missed that at first. But that would be 0 minus 1, so I'm going to get a negative 1 over here. Does that mean this does or does not work as a solution?
It does.
Does not. So 0 is not a solution. What about if I put 1 in the place of all those x's? Let's see what we get on the left if I put a 1 in the place of these x's. What is 1 squared? 1. And then I take it and multiply it by what?
4.
Multiply it by 4. So I would have 4 minus 4 minus 5. What does this whole side come out to be? Negative 5. On the other side, I would have 2 times what? 2 times 4 minus 1. 2 times 4 is 8. And 8 minus 1? 7. Is this one a solution? Nope. What about if we change those ones all to negatives? Why not? What happens? What do I have on the left when I replace it with a negative 1? Positive 4. And then what? And then it's plus 4, right? Because negative times a negative, I get a positive. And then minus 5. So this whole side over here would give me what?
Negative 3.
Close.
Oh, wait.
Just a positive 3 because I'd have 8 minus 5. Over here I'd have negative 2 times 2 minus 1. So what do I get on this side?
Positive 4.
Negative 5, right? Because I have negative 4 minus 1.
Oh, okay.
So I get a -5. Does that one work? No. So that's not a solution either. We've eliminated 3 of them. Good grief.
And what did you do there, too?
What about when we use 2 in the place of those x's? What do I get on the left? $16. Oops. So we have 16 minus 8 minus 5. How does that simplify then? 3. Over on the right-hand side, what do I have? 4 times 5 minus 1. 4 times 5 is... So I get 19 over here. Does that one work as a solution? No. What about if we made those 2's negative? Would it change the first piece at all, the 16? No. That'd still come out to be a positive 16. Would this still be a minus 8 here? That would change it to a plus 8 minus 5, which means I'd get what over here? How much? 19. What would I get here? -4 times positive 1 minus 1. So -4 minus 1. -5. Does that one work? So does that mean no solutions? No, it means those aren't solutions. How could I actually try to find a solution here?
Find X.
I heard we could substitute 3. I heard find x. What would I need to do if I wanted to go this route to find x? What's something I could do to this? I can get x isolated on one side. Is there anything that I can do on the left-hand side all by itself if I'm only looking at the left?
Box.
I want to combine like terms, but I can't yet, just because the x squared and the x aren't alike. They're both x's, but one has a power and the other one doesn't.
Can square root it?
We can't square root it. I hear box. What do I have to have this equal to before I could do a box? 0. Is it equal to 0 right now? What could I do to get it equal to 0?
Move the right side to the left.
Move the right side to the left. What do I need to do to the right side before I could do that? Simplify. How do I simplify? What's something I could do over there? Yes, we can distribute the 2x. What is 2x times x? 2x squared. What's 2x times 3? 6x minus 1. Okay, so I have 4x squared minus 4x minus 5. What can I do with this now? Combine like terms. How do I do that? So I need to get things to the same side. I want to make them cancel out over there on the right. If I add 2x squared, will that make that cancel? What will make it cancel, though? Subtracting. If I subtract 2x squared, now it's going to cancel, right? Because 2x squared minus 2x squared, that'll give me a 0. And if I do it to one side, have to do the same thing to the other side. Do I have a 0 over on the right yet? What can I do to get closer? Subtract 6x from both sides, because 6x minus 6x gives me what? 0. Is it equal to 0 over on the left? Or sorry, on the right? What can I do to get it even closer? Add 1 to both sides. Now do I have a 0 over there? Yes, everything canceled out. That leaves me with 0. 4x squared and negative 2x squared are like terms, so I can combine those. What's 4 minus 2? 2. So I'd have 2x squared here. Can I combine the minus 4x and the minus 6x? Are those are like terms? Negative 10x. Oh, no. Negative 5 and a positive 1. Can I combine those? What would that give me? Negative 4. So minus 4. All right, I've got it equal to 0. Can I do a box now? What do I need to look for before I think about putting anything inside a box? Multiples. Is there a greatest common factor here? Something that goes into all three pieces? 2 goes into all three pieces. I can't take an x out of all of them because why? One of them doesn't have an x. Okay, so I'd have a 2 on the outside, and then x squared minus 5x minus 2 equals 0. So now with the part that's inside parentheses, I could do a box. That means I would need 2 numbers that would multiply to give me negative 2, but when I take those same 2 numbers and I add them together, I get negative 5. Can you help me think of 2 numbers that will do that?
Negative 3 plus negative 2.
Negative 3 and negative 2, that'll add up to negative 5, but what happens if I multiply those? I end up with a 6. I want it, when I multiply the 2 numbers that I'm looking for, I want it to give me negative 2 when I multiply them. What are the only things that you know of that'll multiply to give you 2? 2 and 1, 1 and 2. Is there any way I could take a 2 and a 1 and add them and end up with 5? So this one doesn't work to factor it. Is there any other way to figure out what x is? We're not going to do this today, by the way.
Graph.
I forget what it's called.
Yes, we could graph it.
Yes.
We could do quadratic formula.
Oh, dang, already?
Yep. We're not going to get into quadratic formula until next semester, but it's important to know that there are solutions. We just weren't able to find them with guess and check. All right. Hey guys, real quick. There's no homework over the weekend. I promise you between now and fall break, no new homework.
When is fall break?
Fall break starts at the end of next week. So we have 1 more week of school. If you did not do your virtual day assignment yesterday, get that done over the weekend. There was no homework, but there is an assignment whenever I don't see you in class. It's what we would have done in here. Next week, there is 1 day I don't see you guys. It's actually Wednesday. I don't see you on Wednesday. Do you guys know why?
No.
PSAT for the juniors and sophomores.
Where are the seniors going?
Seniors are supposed to do college visits.
I got a college visit them days.